Early detection saved my life. I am grateful for every day to keep living, loving, and creating beautiful memories. I'm Joyanne Joseph. I am a wife, a mother, and a social worker by profession. And I'm also a breast cancer survivor.
My name is Jamila Bannister, and I am a brand strategist and digital marketer. I am 40 years old, and I am a breast cancer survivor.
My name is Dorothy Phillip. I am the founder of Faces of Cancer Solution, and I am a breast cancer survivor.
When I hear the phrase, don't drop the ball, catch it early, it really is a signal to ensure that you are always on top of your health so that you can catch things before they become much bigger problems. Cancer is a disease that if it goes unchecked or if you catch it too late, it can be fatal. But if you are on top of your health, you don't drop the ball and you're taking care of yourself, you're in tune with how you feel in your body and you're in tune with things that you may be experiencing, it becomes much easier to know when there are changes so that you can in fact catch anything that shows up in your body early enough for you to take charge of the problem and get treatment as you need without it having an enormous impact on your life or even you not even coming out in the other end alive. So when I hear that, it really means taking responsibility for your health and ensuring that you catch anything before it becomes a major problem.
Personally, don't drop the ball, catch it early means two things to me. One, don't be complacent. Take your health serious. If you find something, check it out. Catch it early to me, early intervention is cheaper and you have a better chance at survival.
Personally, it means taking in control, taking charge of that which is within my scope of responsibility. And in this context, I see it as taking control of my health, doing what I need to do to be well. I would have felt a lump in my breast. I was not sure that it was a lump. But I would just keep checking it and so on. And I recall having a stabbing pain in my breast. And, I was suspicious, but still in denial that it was anything. So one day I just whispered by chance to my daughter, I think this lump feels as though it has come back. And she picked up on it. And she kept pressuring me. And I promised her that would have been around November or so, the ending of November, because I would have been preparing for the Republic event. And I told her I'm going to go and check. And I kept checking and I wasn't feeling it or anything anymore. And then in February, I would have been on vacation and I decided, I go in and I'm doing my annual check before I go back to work. And I went. But then a few days after I went back and I said, I think I find a lump in my breast. And my daughter was like, you think you found a lump in your breast? And I said, yes. And he was checking and, could not locate it. But then he eventually did. And he said, yes, there's something here. And he said, I'm going to send you to do a mammogram because I've never had a mammogram done before until then. And so had a mammogram, then I had to do, they called me back to do a ultrasound. Yeah, and from that call, that second call to come back in, I said something had to be amiss.
I think my personality, I'm a very spiritual person also, and I embrace love. I think that is what kept me going because I never questioned why or anything. I just kept going with the treatment. Whatever it was, I just took it head on and ran with it. There was no time for second guessing. The only thing I did was to double check, fact check whatever I was told to see if it was actually correct.
Early detection impacted my treatment and recovery because it meant the difference between being a stage 3 and a stage 4. And we know stage 4 is the most severe stage of cancer. So it allowed me to be able to go through the treatment and experience a sense of relief once I got through the active treatment in terms of like chemo and the surgery and those elements of treatment. You know, for persons who are at the stage 4 level, it's more difficult and they have to go through more severe forms of treatment, more aggressive forms of treatment, and their treatment periods may be much longer than somebody who's, let's say, at stage 1, a stage 2, or stage 3. So catching it early, and there are some persons who catch it even earlier than I did, meant that I was able to even show up and talk to people, share with persons what they should look for and how they should be able to walk through this experience, being empowered and having more knowledge so that they can in fact take care of themselves and catch it early.
My treatment was impacted by early detection because I found out I was not a stage 4. And that means we could have plotted a path for treatment for me, which was not very expensive, as if I was a stage 4 patient. So financially, early detection impacted my treatment in a good way.
In the process of planning for surgery, next steps, and so on, I came down with COVID. So I had, I had some time, you know, you could not do surgery if you had COVID until after a certain period of time. So I had all that. And then when we had rescheduled, the surgeon himself, he came down with COVID. So it was more setback. So the people around me, some were like my husband, you know, they were concerned that, you know, it was taking long and so on. But I kind of saw that as an opportunity to center myself and probably prepare myself, because I believe that things happen in the time they're supposed to happen, how they're supposed to. And so I was not perturbed. I think it gave me time to be able to become accepting of the treatments and the steps that had to be taken.
A diagnosis like this changes your life, and I say I'm not only referring to the person who actually has, you know, the cancer, the loved ones, you know, the entire family is impacted when one person is ill, especially in a very close-knit family. My advice would be, you know, obviously to get yourself checked, you know, regularly. I mean, I know as men, we don't typically think about being sick or being ill, and, you know, men don't typically check themselves like that. But that is one of the things I would say to the men out there who may hear this, you know, that we need to care for ourselves. Because if we don't care for ourselves, if we don't look after ourselves, we can't care for the people we love. So that's my first piece of advice. But if you are part of a family where somebody is dealing with cancer, breast cancer, you know, you have to go into the support mode, you know. So you have a lot of the minutia of day-to-day life. You have to take that away from them to allow them to focus on being healed and doing what they need to do to get back well. So all the logistics of transportation, And just sometimes being there for support, you know, attending doctor's appointments and so on, you have to be there. So everything else basically has to take a back seat.
What mattered most to me was surviving and being there for my family. That was one of the things that mattered most. Maybe if I didn't have a family, I would not be so feisty in fighting and making sure I did everything that I had to do. But I must say the most important thing to me was my family and love.
Treatment affected me in a number of ways. It affects you physically because, of course, you feel exhausted, you feel tired. Of course, you lose your hair, but there are other things. Your joints hurt, you know, your stomach cramps. Some people experience some severe symptoms, but for me, it really was the joints. It really was the stomach cramping, the loss of taste, and of course, the loss of hair. And, you know, inside of that journey, the funny thing is, though I experienced the treatment and though I lost my hair, going through the cancer diagnosis and experiencing everything that came with it was a confidence booster for me. And I know that may sound counterintuitive, but it was, because what it did is that it allowed me to dig deeper into the things that made me beautiful as a person. And I think a big part of the beautiful market and even the idea of selling wigs is to let people know that there's so much beauty in a person beyond the physical, because cancer treatment really can take a toll on you physically. Some people get acne, some people lose a lot of weight, some people gain weight, and you do experience a number of things that affect you physically, but you have to carry on. You know, you still want to feel like yourself. So you have to look for the other things that make somebody beautiful. You actually see those things in other people as well. So you see people's spirit, and you see people's attitude, and you see the things, how people come through for you. You see people's support. So I found confidence in being able to tap into those parts of myself and actually look for those things in other people as well. So my confidence really came from a completely different place during that time. I mean, and this is not to say that, you know, you didn't want to look your best. You do. But the confidence comes from a different place once you go through something like this.
Diane is a superwoman. She is. I know she probably doesn't like to hear this term, but her strength, you know, as a person has really taught me a lot. And she's never remained focused on her own ailments. You know, she's had to deal with them, but you will find her assisting somebody. You know, when I grow up, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's but seriously, she has really been a pillar of strength for me as her husband. And because when I heard about the diagnosis, I was like, God, what? This is your girl, because this is a woman that has always been there doing everything for everybody, and here it is, she's impacted by this disease. So I said, what's this about? So I had to deal with that, but here she was still doing everything as much as she could for people. And you know, so her strength really came. I've actually gotten strength from her, you know, and how she's dealt with this.
While I was going through my journey, I never prayed to be healed. I prayed to inspire other people. I prayed for an abundance of love so I can give love to other people, because you cannot give what you don't have. And so one day I had this thing after my treatment. My oncologist asked me to join her support group. And I went once, and then I said, well, if I can join your support group, and it was so receptive. People were coming at me with all kinds of questions, how I did it, because I had a very tough journey. And so I said, if I can do it for her support group, I can do it for my country. So when I was done with my treatment, I returned to St. Lucia and I started Faces of Cancer St. Lucia.
My advice to persons who are currently battling breast cancer, men and women, I think it's important for you to have support. It's important for you to curate your community around you. Not everybody will be able to understand. Not everybody will be able to have the right advice. I would also say that it's really important that you kind of meet people where they are. Because when you're going through a difficult time, particularly with illness, some persons might say, you know who's for you, you know who's in your corner when they show up when you need them. But the truth is that people also have their own battles to fight. And I think we have to meet people where they're at. And just the same way you would want grace, allow them grace. So if some people, all they could do is drop a few $100 into your account, take that. If they could bring a basket of fruit, take that. If some people are literally coming to sit with you while you are chemo, take that. Just take people where they're at. You will be at much more peace with that. And I would also say protect your mental health in terms of who you allow into your space and when you allow them. Privacy is your friend, secrecy is your enemy. So be private with the way that you manage the information. Tell who needs to know. Tell the people who need to know at that point in time in the journey, but don't be secretive. Don't keep it from every single person, because if people don't know, they cannot help you. So I would think it's really important to manage your mental health, manage your physical health as well. The treatment for cancer could be very, very aggressive. Eat good food, take walks, go swimming, do what your body would allow you to do. Give yourself grace to be able to walk through the journey and get better. Ask lots of questions. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions as well. You are walking through the journey. You have to live in the body, and you have a right to ask as many questions as you need to.
I have a scrapbook of my journey, which is very graphic. And when women go through my scrapbook and they see this is where I was and this is where I am now, it gives them hope. When I tell them the stories of what I went through, not being able to talk properly, not being able to count, and they see me today talking publicly, it gives them hope. So I think my journey had a very positive impact on people going through cancer.
For every woman who is watching this, I want you to know that your health is truly your wealth. And I want you to know that it is really important that you don't sweat the small stuff in life, right? Because when you don't have your health, you'll be amazed at how certain things are no longer relevant. Don't sweat the small stuff. Take time to find things that fulfill you. Live in your purpose, walk in your purpose, work in your purpose. Life is not meant to be just working, and then you give everything to everybody else and you leave yourself for last, which is what a lot of women do, right? Treat yourself like premium, just like you treat other people like premium. Giving to others doesn't mean denying yourself, and that includes giving yourself good food, keeping your stress levels down, which is a big contributor to disease, getting your exercise in, having good relationships, keeping at peace, and taking care of yourself in general. Don't leave yourself for last. While you are in this life, give yourself the best and take care of yourself as much as possible.
Breast cancer was one of the toughest battles of my life, but I was lucky. I caught it early.